company called Elder, which is here, and also previously founded the company a few years before called Mop. So I thought I'm not going to be talking about sustainability and such, but I thought it'd be useful for you guys doing your new businesses and projects to maybe understand from me how the journey we had when we were building these companies and kind of the challenges we faced, and some of like how our careers have gone to get to this point. So just quickly, before we, I thought it'd be interesting to tell this with pictures maybe than just talk at you. Before me and my co-founder started our first business, Mop, I actually spent 5 years as a corporate lawyer in the city, so I came in very much thinking this would be my life, so it's a very sexy, glamorous job, but it actually ended up, there was a lot of this, a lot of document reviewing and a lot of meetings, and it kind of, for the type of person I am, it actually wasn't the type of thing. I kind of trained for 6 years to do it, but quickly realised, do you know what, I've gone to university, I've done my postgrad, but actually I'd rather actually be doing and building the businesses that some of the people we're advising are doing. So me and my co-founder, Tom, who I met on the first day at university in Sheffield, a long time ago now, we actually set up a business before Mop, which was called Drink. We just like to chuck a letter on the end of a word to create a business. But we thought our first business would be, we'd do something very simple, which is we'll import beer. So what better way, we thought there's too much Peroni and Italian beer, let's have some Japanese beer into the market. So this is our old flat in a place called Whitechapel in East London. And we thought it would be sensible, because Tom's parents are on a farm, so we thought, I know what we'll do, we'll buy a container and ship it across from Japan. Sapporo, obviously none of you will be drinking yet, but Sapporo is a very good beer. And we just put it in our flat. So you could feel almost the floor was like the weight of that. So we had about 15,000 bottles, and we tried to sell it to bars in London, but we made a cardinal sin, and this will come into your pictures, is we didn't check the market for how much you should charge. And we actually ended up, we bought it ourselves at a price that was more expensive than we could sell it. So the result of our first business, if you will, was it was what would politely be called a failure, but we learned a lot, we gave it a go, we created a brand, we had a lot of fun doing it, I was doing it with my best friend, but we moved on. So that was on to business number 2. So this is, this bearded man here is Tom, my best friend and my business partner, and this was our first office, but it was really our living room in the same flat, and we decided to build something that we thought had a bit more legs on it. And that was cleaning. So what Tom and I, we both had busy careers. So I was being a corporate lawyer, so I was doing really late nights, getting home at 11 and 12 at night. Tom was a trader, so he was trading shares on the stock market and had the same problem. So our flat was not the cleanest place in the world, as I'm sure you can all appreciate. And so one thing we thought, we couldn't find a cleaner online. It was back in 2012. And we thought, why can we not just book online? I can book a flight online, I can book a hotel online, I could even now book a car online as Uber was starting up, but we couldn't get a cleaner. And so that's what we thought. So this was V1 of Mop before we put a P on it, so it became double P, which was very simple. I mean, and it was basically this website cost us £700, and that included online payment and everything, and we worked with a postgraduate student from our old university to build what we call V1 of the business, and we kind of we put it live. And actually what happened is it actually went pretty quickly. So we were very fortunate in, we'd found an idea, and you'll see this when you do your business plans, that was wanted. So there was a need for it. So people, just like Tom and I, when we went onto Google, people did the same thing. So when we put Mop online and we launched the site, people would come on and they were like, this is exactly what I've been looking for. So kind of, sometimes you benefit from it when you're doing your business plans. You can think sometimes timing, you get a bit lucky. And so if you find a thing where there's a real market need, we were in a position where in our first kind of 8 months of being operational, we were able to get to what's a great number when you see that is you managed to do £1 million of turnover, which from a business like and we did that pretty much through a website that cost about £1,000 to set up, so you don't need lots of team and you don't need to spend lots of money to kind of get a business operational. But at the same time as we had that, you get a lot of things, so this was some not so nice Twitter comments that we used to get every so often, because as you're growing so fast, we went from having Tom and I interviewing cleaners in Starbucks and St. Paul's, to then having a network of we got to a point of about 3,000 cleaners across London, and also about 300 handymen. But what you'd find is when you have that many people, it's really hard to have the same service. So when you've got your idea and it's just an idea at the start, it's quite small, isn't it? And you think, I can deliver a great service or we can build the best product for a few people. When you try and make it bigger to more people, things break. So all of a sudden the service isn't quite good. So you guys, Sarah Lindsay said Mop was the worst service ever. Cleaner didn't turn up again, so we've obviously done this before. Neil Van de Sijs is very disappointed. And then it doesn't always go to plan. And this was another one you probably can't see, but actually this was 50,000 flyers we'd ordered. And my business partner Tom, or it could have been me, we don't know, spelled neighbour wrong. So there's no H in neighbour. So they're the type of things that you kind of have to accept, really brutal. And you'll experience this if you actually do launch your businesses and all your projects, is there'll be as many, the highs are really high, but the lows can be quite low. So you need to have it's great to have a business partner next to you who can you can be on that journey with, so you're not too lonely. But yeah, this was, won't dwell on it too much, but we were really fortunate. So we solved all those problems, and we used a lot of technology. So this is important where technology can help. We went from doing, we got to about 18 months after starting Mop, we were doing about 6 million a year in turnover. And that came from using technology. So instead of, in a normal cleaning company, what you have is you have someone who will think about where the cleaner should go. So, okay, I've got 10 cleaners and I've got 20 customers. So this cleaner will go here today and then there. But we had lots of them, so tens of thousands. We had about 80,000 customers in London. And then we had to think about, wait a minute, that's a lot of people working that out. But what you can use is software, so you can use code. And so what we did, so our software engineers who had joined us built algorithms. And those algorithms would decide in a fraction of a second where they could do where 5,000 people should go in a day. And they call that the traveling salesman problem. So who should go where and when. And so that was a good example of, okay, we started and it was just Tom and I working out who could get on the phone and find someone to do the job. And then we moved it to a much more sustainable situation where we could grow really quickly by using technology to take the pressure off the team and allow us to actually grow a lot faster. And then another thing that you'll hope to get to, ignore the terrible picture, is if you build a business, you also get to a point where you have to decide what to do with it. So in our case, we'd actually met a company in America, in New York, called Handy. They used to be called Handybook. And what happened there is we'd grown to a big size, and they'd done the same in America. And we thought, do you know what, do we carry on our journey? But because we felt we'd done a great job, we actually decided to sell the business. So that's kind of the end stage of the business. It happened quite quickly for us, but can take a lot longer time. And we actually sold the business. So the two businesses merged together. So you've got Mop and Handy. This was the press day. And now so it's become it's the world's biggest platform for cleaners and handymen. And so Tom and I spent then another 12 months between New York and London working with Handy to make that concept even bigger. So we started doing more handyman jobs. So it's great that a customer can use Mop for cleaners, but can they also use it for handymen? And what else can we do? So now, for instance, a good example is we've got a partnership with IKEA and Target, where if you go on and book online, you can also book your assembly. So if you order a flat screen TV, Handy can come along and install it for you. So that's kind of a good example of how you can start to do different services that kind of move off your core mission. And then not conscious of time, so don't do too much. So this was really important though as well, because I've talked a lot there about turnover and business and growth, but I'll be honest, one of the most rewarding things of doing this whole thing, this was Olga, who was our top cleaner in London. Olga did about, I think, 1,300 jobs. She's still there. And what was fantastic about, we had 3,500 cleaners in London, was cleaning tends to be quite a badly paid job, which we didn't think was right, because they do it's not easy to be a great cleaner. As you'll all know, when your mum says you've done a terrible job in your room, only certain people can do it. And so what we wanted, we didn't think they got paid enough. So the average cleaner in London was getting £7.50 an hour. Now we thought that's not really right, so what we've been able to do is with Mop is we managed to increase that to £9 an hour for all of our cleaners. So instead of the company taking a lot of the margin, we passed it over. So because of software, we were allowed to remove a lot of headcount. So instead of having a big operations team and lots of people matching the jobs and all that, we let software do that. And it allowed us to pass much more of the money straight through. So that's another thing when you're building, if your business idea is around people, you really want to be in a position where you need to make life better for them. Why would they want to use your product or service? And then quickly, just to touch on, is business number 2. So we thought, what do we do now? So I'm old, I'm not that old, so I'm 31, and I was like, God, what do we do now? And we actually had another problem we'd seen, which was as we were building Mop, both of our grandparents had to find care. And we thought, to be honest, that the experience for them was pretty bad. So they didn't want to go to a care home, they wanted to stay in their own home, but they couldn't find anyone to care for them. And when we started researching, we kind of started pulling a thread, I call it, when you start researching. You know, when you're doing your projects and you start looking at the industry or the market. And we saw that the UK, the elderly population, is going to grow incredibly quickly. And so we had an idea, which is this. So this is business number 2, Elder, which Elder is basically the alternative to the care home. So apologies for Harry here, he doesn't know how to do a photograph normally. It's impossible to get him to do so. But basically our premise is very simple, which is similar to what we believe that no one should have to go into a care home if they don't want to. So for all the 80-year-olds and everyone as they get older in the UK, we don't understand why you build your whole life and your whole family and everyone's together, and then all of a sudden it gets to a day where, okay, it's time to leave now and move into effectively like a budget hotel. Like, we think actually it would be great if you could keep them in their own home. So the business we're building is doing that. So it's using some of the lessons we've learned with technology and others in cleaning into care. And to really quickly sum up, I thought just for you guys, as you're doing your projects, it's great to hear what you're all up to. Is a few things that might be useful is, so there's no right career path. So for instance, whatever you do in your life, I spent a number of years, I went to university, did a law degree and postgrad, and then was a lawyer for 5 years, but I've ended up in a very different path over the last 5 years. So you might find in whatever you do that it doesn't always go just like this. It can go up and it can go sideways. It's kind of like instead of a ladder, it's like a jungle gym. You're kind of going across and up to find what's right for you. Resilience is a bit of a fancy word. I should just put grit. So determination. Whatever you guys do, and work really bloody hard at it. Because you'll find that the more effort you put in is the more you get out. I know a lot of people say that, but it really holds true. Another thing is be comfortable being uncomfortable. So whenever you find those situations, and you will have them, you might get it when you stand up here and do your presentation. You get that feeling in your stomach where you feel a bit nervous. You get it in exams. I got it in driving tests and big moments in your life. Try and embrace that. It's not a bad thing. It tends to mean something really good's going to happen. You're going to get something that means a lot to you, and it tends to great things will come of it. So never be scared of that and move away from it, or don't do something because you feel nervous. It's a good sign. Don't worry about failing. So like drink, unfortunately, loved the concept. It didn't work. It's okay. So one thing in your life, whatever you're doing, if you do choose to start a business or a career option, don't worry if things don't work out. Because life's a very long journey and you'll be absolutely fine. And then tied into that, enjoy yourself. So whatever you do, I guess one thing, I get to work every day with my best friend, which is pretty cool. And we kind of, we've been able to build our own businesses and we have really good fun and we make a bit of a difference. So that's really cool. But guys, yeah, that's it from me. So yeah, look forward to hearing your projects.